This subcommittee has a long record of sustained oversight of the Washington Metropolitan Transit Authority. We've found what plagues WMATA is a culture, all too often, of mediocrity. As the system has jumped from crisis to crisis, this culture has been a common theme. Falsified track inspection reports, failure to document or investigate more than 3,000 criminal complaints from riders, and now a very difficult defect with 60% of the system's railcar fleet allowed to languish for 4 years. Our hearing today, which I'm leading in collaboration with my colleague Eleanor Holmes Norton of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, will examine urgent safety priorities, structural reforms that advance system accountability, and the long-term challenges facing WMATA and transit systems all across America. Our goal is to assist WMATA's leadership and overseers to get to a culture of excellence within the system that improves the safety and reliability of Metro. I want to thank General Manager Paul Wiedefeld for his years of dedicated service to WMATA. Mr. Wiedefeld recently announced he will retire later this year. He took over WMATA at a time when all lights were blinking red, and the reality remains our region has a ways to go to restore confidence in Metro. Mr. Wiedefeld, however, has been willing to make tough decisions, and the improvements he undertook, including a system-wide Safe Track project and securing dedicated funding for long-term capital investment, are going to help renew our aging transit system. The tough decisions for WMATA are not only in the rearview mirror, they are on the horizon as well, and I know Mr. Wiedefeld's testimony will explore that today. The federal government has a strong stake in the future health of this Metro system, our national capital transit backbone. More than 1/3 of all Metro rail stations are located on federal property, serving federal facilities. And during normal operations pre-pandemic, federal employees represent 40% of Metro Rail's peak period ridership. At the height of pandemic-related shutdowns, ridership for Metro was down as much as 90%, and transit budgets around the country were gutted. Congress extended a lifeline to transit in 3 tranches of funding through the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, and the American Rescue Plan. WMATA received more than $2.4 billion in emergency federal funding, which allowed the system to close its operating deficit for 3 consecutive years and to avoid the draconian cutbacks that otherwise had been outlined as necessary. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that Mr. Hoyer referenced, an historic and transformative bipartisan compromise to invest in the future of America and its competitiveness, will provide WMATA with additional support from $80 to $100 million in annual capital formula funding over the next 5 years. The bill also included the Metro Accountability and Investment Act, which I authored, and was supported unanimously by the National Capital Regional Delegation. The bill reauthorized through 2030 the $150 million in annual dedicated federal capital funding for Metro that must be matched by D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Importantly, the funding is conditioned upon WMATA implementing and maintaining critical reforms that strengthen the WMATA Office of Inspector General. The OIG is an essential institution for enforcing accountability within the system, and I welcome congressional action to enhance the independence and transparency of the OIG's work. Congress has also helped create the Washington Metro Rail Safety Commission. Mr. Hoyer and I were at many meetings with former Senator Mikulski to try to make this happen. The Safety Commission was certified and began operations in 2019, and has helped bring to light lapses in safety training and maintenance efforts, serious problems with the Rail Operations Control Center, and most recently, a series of failed attempts to address a defect with the wheel sets on 7000 series cars. The Safety Commission has also documented instances in which WMATA has refused to provide with access to WMATA facilities, networks, and personnel. Congress provided the Safety Commission with sweeping authority to access the system of Metro for the conduct of its safety oversight mission, and anything less than cooperation and total transparency is inconsistent with both the letter and the spirit of the legislation we passed in creating the Safety Commission. On October 12th, a Metro train derailed in Northern Virginia. The incident is currently under investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board. The derailment was caused by defective wheel sets on the 7000 series railcars, the system's newest. It was later discovered that WMATA was aware of the problem, not at the highest levels, but at other levels of the organization with the wheel sets since 2017, and failed to fully address the issues with the railcar manufacturer, and failed to inform higher-ups in the management chain of command, the board, and the Safety Commission, let alone members of Congress. Folks lower down the chain of command defined the problem as a warranty problem with Kawasaki, the manufacturer, and treated it that way, rather than understanding that this actually was a safety issue that put the public, the riding public, potentially at risk, and should have been reported absolutely up the chain of command. And we're going to explore how and why that happened today. Failure of WMATA, as Mr. Hoyer just said, is not an option. We need a successful, functioning WMATA that returns to a culture of excellence. I remember when Metro first opened. I was here. It was the pride and joy of the nation's capital. People who came in from Georgia and my home state of Massachusetts marveled at how clean and safe and friendly Metro was for riderships. And it was on or around 1976. We were inundated on the bicentennial with lots of people coming into town. And they loved the experience of riding on our Metro. We got to return to that. And that's really what we're all about, I think, in today's hearing. With that, I welcome our witnesses, and I now call on my co-lead for this hearing,